Virtual reality test preparation. That's our Techstination. I'm Fred Fishkin. Joining us from a company called Librarium is CEO Duane Mathes. Hi, Duane.
Hey, Fred. Thanks for having me.
Pleasure to see you. Now, tell us a little background about Librarium, what you are all about.
Okay, yeah. So Librarium is designed to be a virtual reality study aid to help people succeed in their studies and to leverage like memory palace technology in VR to help them, study better and learn more effectively.
How did this come about?
Well, that's a bit of a long story. It kind of comes from my background. So I spent about a decade in Asia, particularly in Taiwan, and I studied in Taiwanese university, Mandarin language and Chinese culture. And in order to become, solidly proficient in Mandarin as a foreigner, you have to memorize really, really well. And so I sort of learned a bunch of memory palace techniques and this kind of thing, and got really deep into the science of learning, and ended up becoming fluent and literate and all that. And then, that kind of stuck with me. And during the pandemic, I was studying for a business degree, from home, and I ended up testing out of every single class, and I did that by using memory palace techniques and whatnot. And particularly while I was studying for economics, I was kind of like, I was trying to make this memory palace in my mind of like, how do I walk around a visualized version of my house and see something like the Gini coefficient, for example. And the Gini coefficient is a curve, a graph of a curve that represents wealth inequality at the like national level. And I'm like trying to think, man, what is the, it's easy when you're trying to remember a shopping list or a single item like a vocabulary word or whatever, but something abstract like this is difficult. And so I thought of the zucchini. A zucchini is curved like this Gini coefficient curve, and it is and it rhymes with genie, and it's kind of like the big green weenie that you get when you have out of control wealth inequality. And so I thought, okay, I'll visualize myself walking through my house and see a zucchini, and I'll remember Gini coefficient. And so and then I thought, well, I should just make a tool for myself in VR. That would be even easier and better. And then I just started to kind of like put it together in my head. Like, I think the world could really benefit from something like that. Memory palace takes a lot of, discipline, and you have to kind of train yourself to use it effectively and whatnot. But if you had a tool that just sort of did the heavy lifting for you, then everyone could benefit from it. And so I started making it, and Meta, they really loved it. They greenlit it for the store and supported me kind of the whole way. And now we're here.
Tell folks a little bit more about this phrase that you've used a few times here, memory palace.
Sure. So memory palace it's a concept that's been around since the time of Socrates, right? It's like 2,000 years old. It's a technique for improving memory retention, particularly around having to remember like lists of things. And so originally, the idea is you visualize yourself in a familiar space, and you interact with objects that kind of represent the things you're trying to remember. So, for example, if I was doing my shopping list, right, I visualize myself walking in my front door of my house, and we have this little table in the entryway, and there I might see like a tomato, right, and then I need to remember, okay, I got to buy tomatoes, and then and then there's my couch, and maybe on the couch is like some eggs, and I'm like, oh, gross, eggs on the couch, and then now I remember I need tomatoes and eggs, and then you just sort of do this row throughout your whole house or whatever space you're using, and then it helps you when you get to the supermarket. You can remember, oh, I was walking there and I remember that. What it does is it leverages your spatial reasoning, right? When you lose something, people always say like, well, where were you? Do you remember? Retrace your steps. How did you get to the point where you lost the thing, or whatever. And so that's a way that humans remember. We're really good at like remembering where we were, or what was around us, or whatever. And so yeah, so this technique's been around a long time, and it's a matter of like, you can train yourself to use it pretty effectively. But yeah.
Terrific. So now tell us about what you are doing with it, with Librarium.
Sure. So Librarium is pretty heavily gamified, and so the idea being that I come from a video game industry background, and so does the rest of my team, and so we really feel like there's a lot of value in gamification of education, particularly when it's designed with a really clear intent by game designers, by people who are used to like driving engagement and making things fun, right? And so what Librarium is, it's think of it like studying for the SAT at Hogwarts. It's this kind of like fantasy styled library, and there's a whole backstory that you can uncover, and like secret rooms and all sorts of things. And the idea is you study in that library your content, which you can create via the phone, or you can use it kind of like Quizlet, where there's community decks that people have made. Most of the stuff made by the community is out there. We have thousands of different topics and things that people have created, and you can pick up any of those and load them, and then it basically uses that library as a memory palace. It spawns individual objects like the zucchini, or all sorts of different things around the space, and then you walk around and you pick them up and you see a flashcard. So if I picked up the zucchini, I would see like Gini coefficient, and then I can pull the trigger to flip the card, and then it'll say, a curve representing wealth inequality among nations, And then we have like mini games, so you can pick up what we call the fact blaster. It's this like ray gun, and it creates a multiple choice quiz that you can use to like test your knowledge and that kind of thing. And so it can really be used for any topic. That's really what we're trying to go for, is that it's general enough that anyone can use it for whatever they're studying.
What if I told you there was a better way to study? Welcome to Librarium, the world's first virtual reality study aid. You can study anything, from a new language to high school science, or prepare for a university entrance exam, medical school, or professional certification. Our partnership with Kaplan means you'll have custom courses developed by the top experts in testing and education. Librarium is the world's first virtual reality memory palace, a technique developed in the time of Socrates to help you learn faster and more effectively by associating ideas with objects in space that activates a whole new part of your brain. You could even create your own flashcards and share them with the community in our free mobile app. Librarium is full of mysteries, and there is always more to discover. Unlock the secrets of the library through your studies. Learn faster, more effectively, and ace your test. Download on MetaQuest 2 and start learning today.
Terrific, Duane. So you have some partners that you're working with on this as well. Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, early on, we were really fortunate. So number one, we've been supported the whole way by Meta. That has been awesome. I had the opportunity to kind of pitch it to one of their content teams, and they really appreciated it. They want educational products for the Oculus store, and so so we had a lot of support there. But also, we were able to secure a partnership with Kaplan as well, and so we're working with their MCAT team, and now we're working with their nursing team as well to create like custom Librarium styled courses for their content. Specifically in the medical industry, like when people are studying for like MCAT or these kind of things, there's a ton of memorization that you have to do. A lot of it being kind of list based, like what are the 7 hormones created by the pancreas, and all of these kind of things. And so so that fits really well for memory palace techniques.
And going forward, what are your plans in terms of developing even more content for this? Much of this anyway is user generated?
Yeah, a lot of it is user generated. That's right. What we really want to kind of be is like the sort of Quizlet for VR, right? Or Anki, right? Where you can kind of if you log on to Quizlet, you can find content for whatever course you're already doing most of the time. When I was studying for my business degree, I would log on and I would search my university and then economics chapter 5, and it would be there. Somebody's already made it. It's like pervasive enough that like there's just a ubiquitous amount of information. And so, for us, I think we have a community. They're building content. We also have a lot of volunteers that are building content based on customer requests. And going forward, we're looking for new partners. We have Choice Education, their SAT vocabulary, so you can study for the vocabulary portion of the SAT already. But looking to expand that as much as we can. And in fact, one of our plans is to create a two-sided marketplace where users who are what we call accredited, basically they're subject matter experts, they're teachers, they're professors, they're business leaders, whatever, they can create content in a partnership with us, and then they can sell it as in-app purchases from within our store. And then they would receive a revenue share, based on the profits from that.
How important a role do you think VR can play in education?
Oh my gosh, I think it could be huge. I think there's so much potential. A few years back, I was one of the founding members of the Idaho Virtual Reality Council, and we had a mission to kind of educate people about VR. This was kind of in the early days when most people hadn't tried it or anything. And I would often give talks about like the benefits of VR for the future and all that, and outside of gaming, and particularly around education. Like there's so many things, like just imagine, like maybe you don't have to go to the classroom, maybe you pop on your headset and you're in a classroom with all of your students and your teachers up front, or maybe through that medium you could go to the surface of Mars or inside of a human cell and see mitochondria doing its business, or you could go to the Roman Colosseum if you're studying history or whatever it might be, right? There's so much potential. And especially with it being such a focused environment. And the thing is, I would give these talks, and then after the talk, I would have people come up and be like, hey, I just got VR for my kids. What kind of educational stuff is there that I can buy for it? And I'd have to be like, well, there really isn't that much stuff just right now. It's just getting started, et cetera. Everything I was talking about was very much aspirational sort of. And potential, but not, it didn't actually exist yet. And so I don't know, I've just always felt like there was a huge opportunity there, just to sort of be a benefit to the world and to people that are studying. And so that's why, with Librarium, I just thought like, man, this is our opportunity to get into this and to sort of like, be what we want to see in the world.
I guess we're just getting started with it, obviously. But the MetaQuest 2 is certainly a breakthrough kind of device in terms of bringing the technology to the masses. And I suppose we're going to be seeing a lot more kinds of hardware to come.
I hope so. I feel like the Quest 2 was definitely like you said, it was the breakout, right? It was I think it was probably a loss leader. It was something that people could afford and they could get into VR. And the real money to be made obviously is in the selling of the content and whatnot. So I'd really like to see like more solid quality, cheaper headsets, to help like make the technology more ubiquitous.
Available to all. So tell us about the pricing and availability for Librarium.
So right now, Librarium is it's $9.99 on the Oculus Store. At the moment, that's the only place you can get it, but we are expanding to Steam over the next month or two. So that's going to be available for all sorts of different headsets. For users in China, we have a partnership with a headset manufacturer called YVR, and so we are just about to release our Chinese version in the next couple of days.
Very exciting. For more information, where can people go?
Well, you can check out our website, librarium-vr.com. You can also just search Librarium on Google, or particularly in the MetaQuest store. And you can see our trailer over there.
Well, congratulations on the innovations there. Duane Mathes, thanks for spending time with us.
Oh, I appreciate it, Fred. Thanks for having me.